All right, chapter 6-5 is solving proportions. And like I said, last week we did this. Okay, we've done it really ever since we've been talking about unit rates. When I showed you the long way on how to figure a unit rate was to set it up as a ratio. And anytime you have a ratio with one unknown, you always do the butterfly, right? You cross multiply and you can solve the proportion. So the first half of your homework is not solving a proportion, but determining whether each pair of ratios forms a proportion. We did this on Friday, right? 6-4 was, we just did it real quick as a class. It's where you were given tables and you were asked to say whether it was proportional or non-proportional. How did we determine whether it was proportional? What did we do? You might remember? Yes. Yeah, we simplified the fraction as much as possible. And then if all the fractions were the same, that meant it was proportional. If any of the fractions were different, it was not proportional. So we're going to do this very similarly, but since we've got some decimals and we've got some numbers that would be a little bit harder to just simplify. Fridays were very, very basic, right? 1/2 and 4/8. Reduce them both to 1/2. Yes, those are proportional. Today's numbers get a little bit bigger. They get a little bit harder to reduce down. And we have to deal with some decimals. So there is another way to do it. And so in your notes, I want you to write cross product test. Yes. Yes, always. So if we want to know if two fractions are proportional, if they're not just really jump right out at you, pretty easy to reduce, and you can just look like 1/2 and 4/8. Those are all the ones that we did on Friday were all very, very simple. Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the two fractions up equal to each other, and then we know how to do the cross product. So we're going to do 5/8 equals 20/32. Okay, 5/8 equals 20/32. Then we're just going to cross multiply, and you guys know how to do this. This is that butterfly effect I was talking about the other day. So if you take 8 times 20, you should get 160. Okay, equals, now we're going to go the other way and we're going to cross multiply the other way. 5 times 32. 5 times 32 equals 160. If it equals each other, your answer is yes. Determine whether or not each pair of ratios forms a proportion. If when you cross multiply, you get something equals something, the answer is yes. Now, again, remember, the cross multiplication is the work to get the answer, but the answer in this top section is either yes or no. Yes, it's proportional, or no, it's not. Okay. So if we look at number 4 and we set up 40/48 equals 56/42. Okay. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 40 times 42, which is 1,680 equals, and then I'm going to multiply the other way, 48 times 56, and I get 2,688. So what's my actual answer that I circle here? Yeah, it's just the word no. It is not proportional because it doesn't pass the cross product test. And we could have done that on Fridays, right? On Friday, we wanted to know if 1/2 and 4/8 were proportional, right? If we did the cross product test, 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 8 is 8. So it still works on small fractions. It's just you don't really have to go to the trouble if you have such tiny fractions. You can reduce them in your head. Yes. 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 If you, instead of writing them out, so what's the next one we're going to do? I want to do one that has decimals. So let's do number 10. So yes, instead of writing them out, if you just want to turn this into an equal sign, works for me. Okay, so then we're going to cross multiply, and you're going to multiply 2.6 times 8. So 2.6 times 8 equals 20.8. And then we want to know if that equals, and then we're going to go this way, 4 times 4.6, 4 times 4.6 equals 18.4. So the answer here would be no. It's not proportional because it does not pass the cross multiplying test or cross product test. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. All right, this we have already done. Okay, so this really is a repeat. We know how to solve for the unknown. You've got two fractions equal to each other. You can always cross multiply, and we're going to do that. N times 18 is 18n. 12 times 6 is 72. And then you always, to solve for the variable, right? It's 18 times n, so we're going to divide by 18 because you always do the opposite. And 72 divided by 18 equals 4. So the answer is n equals 4. Pretty easy here. I want to do one like number 20 because it is decimal. So go ahead and jot number 20 down in your notes. I got it written down. All right, so same thing. Okay, 7.5 times x is 7.5x. I usually do the whichever one includes the variable. I usually do it first just because I like the variable on the left. It doesn't matter which order you do it in. 6.0 times 3.6. Well, it's 6 times 3.6 is 21.6. You divide both sides by whatever is multiplied by the x, you divide it. So even if it's a decimal, just still do it. And then you guys have calculators, so don't make this harder than it has to be. 21.6 divided by 7.5 is 2.88, and that's your answer. Yes, I saw a hand. Which one? Well, if you take 3.6 times 6, right? Or if you wanted to, even if you wanted to write it like they have it, let me write it like they have it just because they have it set up 6.0. 6.0 is the same as 6, but we can do, we can do this. Drop down the 0 to account for this 0. And then 6 times 6 is 36, carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21. 2 decimal points, so you do 2 decimal points, so it's 21.6. If you do the long division, or you can punch it in your calculator, either way. All right, pretty straightforward. Not really a whole lot of hard that goes with these. Again, it doesn't matter which way you crisscross first. I like to usually do the cross that includes the variable first. 14K equals, go this way, 1 times 1.54, 30 times 1.54 equals 46.2. And then you divide by whatever is attached to the variable, which is 14 in this case. And you get K equals 3.3. These are pretty basic, pretty simple. Okay. Sound good? Does anybody have any questions? I was going to say something a second ago that was something I was thinking of. When you write like 7.2 times K, anytime you have a number and a variable, always write the number first and then the variable, because a number touching a variable means multiplication. So to get the 7.2 reduced off of there, you always divide by whatever is attached to the K. Yes. Nope. Homework doesn't have any word problems. You don't have to write this one down. Gail is making fruit punch that consists of 2 quarts of juice to 1 quart of soda. So you'd set that fraction up 2 to 1, right? 2 to 1. How much soda? And we did what? We did juice on top. And this is why this is always important. This is just like the ones we did last week. We did juice over soda, right? 2 juice over 1 soda. So 2 over 1. How much soda? So our question is soda. That's our unknown. Does she need if she has 5 quarts of juice? 5 juice. Juice goes on top. You still cross multiply. So it's just like the ones we did. And it'd be 2.5. And we solve for soda. So it'd be quarts of soda. So not on your homework, but you will have ones like this because these are just like the ones we did last week. Yes.
So the ones with the letters in it, those are ones you write down before.
Say that one more time.
The ones with the letters on them, we don't try to make this. We don't try to find out the proportional ones with that L we do. Yes.
If I understood your question right, the ones at the top that don't have a missing letter, they don't have a missing part of the ratio, you're just answering yes or no as to whether they're proportional. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's correct. And then on the bottom, you are forcing them to be proportional. So all the ones like from here on down, they all are going to be proportional when you're done because you're doing the math to make them proportional. So when you solve for like number 13, when we solved for n, we actually are substituting an n in for the, or a 4n for the n. And if you cross multiply 12 times 6 is 72. If you cross multiply this, 4 times 18 would be 72 because you solve for what it would take to make it proportional. So in the bottom half, you are forcing it to be proportional. Does that make sense? By solving for the missing variable. So you're forcing this one to be proportional because you're figuring out what is it I need to plug in for C to force this to be a proportional ratio. Okay, good questions. All right, for those of you at home, it's odds only. Make sure you show all of your work with the cross multiplication, and at the top, make sure you circle yes or no as your answer, and email me if you have any questions.